Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between the hills, there lived a boy named Arif. Arif was a shy and quiet child who always felt invisible, even though he wasn't. He was too nervous to speak in class, too timid to play with the other children, and too afraid to share his thoughts. He wished he could simply disappear so that no one would notice him. Every night, as he lay in bed, he would close his eyes and think, if only I could really become invisible, then I wouldn't have to face anyone. No one could laugh at me or expect me to talk. This thought comforted him and helped him drift to sleep, dreaming of a world where he could hide from everything. One day, while exploring the edge of the forest near his home, Arif stumbled upon an old, crumbling statue of a woman with her hands raised to the sky. At the base of the statue, he found a strange, glowing stone. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before, shimmering with a faint light. Curious, Arif picked it up, and in that moment, the stone began to glow brighter. Suddenly, a soft voice whispered in his ear, "Your wish will be granted, young one." Before Arif could even process what had happened, he looked down at his hands, and they were gone. His arms, legs, and body had all vanished. Arif had become invisible. At first, he was thrilled. Finally, he thought, I don't have to be seen anymore. No one can tease me, and no one can ask me to speak. He rushed home, but no one noticed him. His parents called out his name, but he stayed silent, watching them search for him in vain. The next day at school, Arif quietly walked into the classroom, invisible to everyone. He didn't have to answer questions, and the teacher never asked him to read aloud. For a while, Arif enjoyed his newfound freedom, feeling safe from the eyes of the world. But as the days passed, something strange began to happen. Arif started to feel lonely. When he walked through the village, people didn't smile at him anymore, because they couldn't see him. His friends at school talked and laughed, but he couldn't join in. Even though he was invisible, he felt more alone than ever. He realized that being unseen also meant being unheard, unnoticed, and forgotten. One evening, as he sat on the edge of the village, watching the sun set, Arif realized how much he missed being part of the world. He missed his family, his friends, and even the things that had once made him nervous. I don't want to be invisible anymore, he thought. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. Desperate to reverse the spell, Arif returned to the old statue in the forest, clutching the glowing stone in his hand. Please, he whispered. I don't want to be invisible anymore. I want to be myself again. The same soft voice spoke once more. You can only be seen again when you choose to show yourself, to face the world as you are. Arif realized that the magic had never been in the stone. It was in him. He had to have the courage to step out from the shadows and let people see him for who he was. The next day, Arif returned to school, still invisible but determined to change. He sat in his usual seat, and when the teacher called on him to read, Arif did something he hadn't done in a long time. He spoke. At first his voice was shaky, but as he continued, he gained confidence. Slowly, as his voice filled the room, something amazing happened. His body began to reappear. By the time he finished reading, Arif was fully visible again. The class looked at him, surprised, but impressed by his bravery. From that day on, Arif learned that being seen wasn't something to fear. He realized that his voice mattered, and that by facing the world, he could truly belong. Moral: hiding from the world might seem like an easy solution, but it's only when we allow ourselves to be seen and heard that we can truly connect with others and find our place in the world.